And we're starting now. So Lori, please start with your common gardening mistakes.
Hi, I'm Lori Gattie. I've been a master gardener for 5 years now, and I have not stopped learning. But one thing I have learned, there's a lot I don't know. I'm presenting today some ways to prevent some common mistakes that many people make while gardening. Do remember, mistakes do happen and we learn from them. All is not lost if a mistake is made. The mistake may be the most interesting part of your garden. Decisions. There's always decisions when making a garden. You started with a plan. It's very important. This step is often skipped. Without a plan, you won't know where to start. In gardening, you are making decisions. Where to plant? What to plant? Should I buy that plant? It looks so nice sitting in the nursery. Don't buy the plant unless you know where you're going to put it. Within all these decisions, you will have a garden you enjoy. It is fun being in the garden, and I hope to give you some ideas how to plan your garden and avoid some mistakes and make it more fun for you. Time. A garden needs frequent care. The garden down the street may be large and looking great, but how much work is involved in caring for it? A garden takes time, especially a new garden. It takes time and energy, water to weed and scout the garden often. A new garden has many more weeds, and if you have a goal of a large garden, start small, about 4 by 4 or 4 by 6. Each year, add a little more to your garden. Decide who will be the main caretaker of the garden. Remember, everyone can pitch in. Make it a family project. Your main goal is to have a garden that you enjoy. So why garden? Well, it's family fun time. Exercise, more control of the chemicals that are around you when you're eating. You can connect with nature. And there's more vitamins in the food when you eat it right from your garden. You gotta know your climate zone. Well, knowing your climate hardiness zone is an important and often misunderstood. The climate zone map is divided into 11 zones. These zones are divided into 10-degree sections of the average coldest day. They're further broken down to 5-degree days differences, the A and B, with A being the coldest. We will not worry about A and B. You need to know your climate zone so that you can decide what plants, especially perennials, you want in your garden. Or a tropical plant will not do well outside Western New York's winter. You can easily find your hardiness zone using your computer. Put in the search box hardiness zone. Click on the link for USDA 2020 climate zone. You will come to the page with this map on it and enter your zip code, and it will show your hardiness. In Batavia, the hardiness zone is 5B. So I like to look for plants that are one lower. So I would look for zone 4, hardy plants, especially for in case we have an extra cold winter. This is New York State hardiness zone map. Notice the green around the lakes, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario here. The green is like a microclimate for the state. And it's also around the Finger Lakes. This keeps the lakes a little warmer and it extends our growing seasons. The lake can cause unpredictable weather, but you never know when you'll have an extra cold wind. And if the lake don't freeze in the winter, we'll have more lake effect snows. you'll need to make sure your small trees and bushes are protected. The lake does give us a cool breeze to help the summers keep a little cooler as we get closer to the lake. In our yard, we also have what is called microclimates, due to structures, trees, bushes, wind, or other things. It's liable to make one area warmer or colder. An area between sidewalk and a driveway in the house will get very warm in the summer. You'll have to plant something that can handle the heat. You are sometimes able to find plants that are not supposed to thrive in the area, but do very well in your yard. There are many many garden types. There's vegetables and flowers, shade, container gardens, almost anything you can think of. There's just so many different gardens. The possibilities are endless. If you want a vegetable garden, you need to consider that vegetables need full sun to grow. And you have to keep them away from trees so they don't compete for the nutrients in the soil. The veggies that you grow, veggies that are expensive to buy and easy to grow. Grow what you like to eat and enjoy at dinner time. Try the lettuces, beans, beets, peppers, and tomatoes. And once they start to ripen, harvest daily and weed as you harvest. Selecting the location, you want to know what size you want your garden to be. You want to start small. What is there now? Any noxious weeds? Or is it near a water source? And how much sun does it get? You need to know the garden site what it has now. Is it a protected area, perhaps protected from an earlier frost? If you have a spot in your yard that is bare and weeds won't even grow in it, the garden will not do well either. If it has a lot of noxious weeds, you may want to consider another area, for they are difficult to get rid of. And you need to know how much drainage there is in the area. Know where north, south, east, and west is in relationship to your house. And water sources nearby is very important, for it becomes very difficult to drag a hose great distances then leave your garden to give your garden water. And you need to know how much sun it gets every day. You need to check how much check the sunlight in the area that you want your garden. Start early in the morning at sunrise. Take a picture every hour until sundown. Put the pictures together and you'll be able to count the hours of sunlight the area gets. You can also record every hour on a piece of paper how much sun is in the area. And from there you can see how many hours of sunlight you have. Defining sunlight, most sources do agree that full sun is 6 or more hours of direct sunlight per day. This does not need to be continuous. For example, there could be 4 hours in the morning, shade midday, 3 to 4 hours of sun in the afternoon. It must be direct full sun. Partial sun is between 4 and 6 hours of sun a day. Partial shade is 2 to 4 hours of sun per day. And shade in the gardening terms means less than 2 hours of sunlight a day. Remember to take account the seasons. Spring may have more sun in an area than in the summer due to some trees nearby. Light shade sites receive partially filtered sun, such as if found underneath the canopy of a honey locust or a birch tree, where there is an ever-moving pattern of sun and shade. You may see light shade referred to as dapple shade or intermittent shade. Moderate shade occurs with mostly reflected light, such as the floor of a hardwood florist. Heavy or dense shade is a site with no direct sunlight, such as the base of a north-facing wall or below a dense evergreen tree. This is important to note that all plants need light to survive. Remember, if nothing can grow there now, it's very difficult to get a garden to grow there. A complete soil test, or at least a pH test, would be the best way to determine what nutrients or compost are needed. Properly prepare the soil, loosen it, add any nutrients and compost is determined by the soil test. You do not want to over-fertilize. If you want information on how to take a soil sample, email the Master Gardener's office at the address at the end of this program. Before you purchase a plant, purchase your plants, make a list and stick by your list. If making a vegetable garden, plant vegetables that you and your family like. The flowers that you enjoy seeing, and they'll bloom at different times. Don't plant any bushes right next to the houses or other buildings. Consider the full mature width of the plant. Make sure there's at least 18 inches away from a building. Consider 3 feet from a building to give at mature height, to give enough room for home repairs to be done without the plant getting in the way. Consider the height of trees near power lines. The trees should not get more than 15 foot high in mature height and planted at least 6 to 10 feet away from the wires. You may want to contact Dig Safely New York before planting your wires. According to the DEC, an invasive species means a species that is non-active to a particular ecosystem and was introduced to cause or is likely to cause economic, environmental harm or harm to human health. Check the DEC website for a list of invasive and poisonous plants. You will find valuable information on the seed packages and plant tags. When to plant, the depth of the plant, your spacing, number of days before seeds germinate, how much sun is needed for them, what the seedlings look like so you don't pull them out as weeds, when to put them in the garden, the days you'll see the flowers, or the days to expect the fruit of the vegetable that you are planting. Take time and read the information when you are purchasing the plants and flowers. Proper amount of sun is important when your plants. The proper amount of spacing and the height of your planting. You start with the tiny pepper seedling, and it's recommended to be planted 18 to 24 inches apart. But they are so small, so you plant them closer, only to find later there's not enough air circulation between the plants, creating an environment for disease and viruses. As a general rule, plants should be planted at the height that is in the container being transplanted from. Dig a hole to the depth of the pot and a little wider so that the plant will be at the same height and have room around it for roots to spread out and grow. When you water, make sure you water deeply, for mulch does not count as soil. Water the soil throughout the root area to ensure the plants receive adequate amount of water. Water less frequently and more deeply. Most people water too often and not long enough. A good way to water deeply is to water an area, make sure the water is not just running away from the area, wait 10 to 15 minutes, and then water again. This allows time for water to get into the soil. When mulching, don't mulch the plant stem. The picture shows what is known as volcano mulching. No, the mulch is touching the trunk of the tree. The tree will rot, and it's this area causing an entrance for insects and create an environment for viruses and diseases. Pesticide, herbicide, and fertilizers. By using separate containers, you won't be spraying the fertilizer from the same canister you used to use vegetation killer the week before. I have 3 containers to prevent confusion to myself and others that may use them, and I have them labeled bug killer, plant killer, and fertilizer. You can also buy chemicals in a convenient pre-mixed containers. But find out what you're going to do before using the chemical. The insects that you see can be a helpful pollinator when you go out in our garden. And chemicals are designed to be used in one season. Before using a pesticide or herbicide, be sure you are using the right product for your problem. And when using a chemical, read the label completely every time you use it. Many people use too many chemicals in their garden, and they use the wrong amounts. Use no more than the label says. More is not better. And use chemicals at the proper time and at proper intervals. By buying the best tool that you can afford, they will be easier to work with. With proper care, your tools should last for years. Keeping them clean and oiled will prevent rust and keep them in good working order. Keep them oiled with lubricating oil spray like WD-40. Sanitize your hand tools with disinfectant wipes whenever you use them. Also, whenever you clip a branch. This will help prevent spreading of any diseases and viruses. The Cooperative Extension website has a wealth of information on gardening. It's a good place to go to get valuable research and information. Here are 2 of the New York State Cooperative Extension websites that I use a lot to get my gardening information when I garden. Enjoy your garden. A tomato tastes better when it comes from your garden. Flowers are a little brighter when they are blooming in your yard. Plants in the garden are a reminder that Rome was not built in one day. Each day as you watch your garden grow, it grows little by little, and by fall you have a full plant display of your fruits of your labor. Plants will notice you are not there. 1 or 2 days of missed watering or weeding could really make a big difference. The more planning and preparation you do, the bigger your rewards. The Cooperative Extension Office is currently closed due to the COVID-19. But Master Gardeners are here to answer your questions and by leaving a message on our email. Thank you. Are there any questions?
All right, so if you have a question for Lori, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can put it in the chat box. We did have a chat come up already, Lori. What suggestions do you have for plants that are easy to grow and provide produce that is expensive to buy?
Oh.
And my first thought was eggplant and mesclun lettuce mixes. Anybody else have some suggestions? Or Lori, what do you?
I think cucumbers, well, they're not really that expensive, but I love having them right from my garden. Peppers is one.
Oh yeah, bell peppers.
Yeah. And hot peppers are easy to grow if you like hot peppers. Beans. Beets are usually kind of expensive, and they're easy to grow.
They're very easy to grow. Those are some good options. Well, we're getting lots of questions coming in.
Oh, no.
All right. Best way to deadhead daffodils. Well, Joan.
Because I have to get the Zoom.
Pardon? Did somebody have a question? Helene, I think you unmuted yourself.
I did unmute myself, sorry. But
No,
I
that's
did have
okay.
a question.
That's okay. Do you have a question?
Yeah, can you go later on when you're done? Could you go back 2 slides? You had 2 email addresses. One was for genesee.cce, and I couldn't write fast enough to get the other below it.
Yep, Lori can
Okay.
put that one up. We'll put the Genesee email up.
Here you go.
There you
These are
go.
the
Thank you.
websites. And if you're looking for a particular Cornell Cooperative Extension, lots of times you can just Google Cornell Cooperative Extension Genesee and our website will come up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tompkins County also has a lot of information on their website. And then it looks like Lori also added the Cornell University garden site. So they've got a lot of information up there right now on vegetable gardening because everybody is interested in growing their own produce this year.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Another
We're
question.
getting a lot of questions on that.
The pH soil test kits, can I get that like at a Value or a Home Depot or something like that? Or
There are pH test kits that you can buy at a garden center or Home Depot or Value might have them. The master gardeners can also do pH testing at the office. We can only do pH. We can't do a full nutrient test.
mm-hmm.
We, even though the office is closed, we are taking samples. So if you were interested in having the master gardeners do it for you, you could drop us an email and we could set up a drop-off time for you and send you the instructions to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Lori, maybe you could put the master gardener email back up too so people can jot that down. Right now, that email is the best way to get a hold of master gardeners. Or I will put my email in the chat box too, because people can also email me directly and then I can forward it to the master gardeners.
Okay, I see one for a regular email and one is a Facebook. Which one would be, if I just had general questions that I needed answered, like I can't get perennials to grow?
Yeah, the Hotmail account, Our
Hotmail.
CCE Facebook site, we're actually trying to post events. So if you're looking for future events from us, you can like us on Facebook or check our website. We have an events listing, and tomorrow we're actually doing a talk at 11 a.m. on seed starting. Brandy's going to be doing it, and I think she's going to talk a little bit more about direct seeding rather than starting seeds at this point, but it's kind of a basic seed starting class.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep. And Dar mentioned that zucchini's another. Everybody grows zucchini, Dar. So back to best way to deadhead daffodils, Joan. Honestly, I don't deadhead mine because I have too many. So with daffodils and any of the bulbs, you want to let the foliage yellow so that the bulbs can actually regenerate and rejuvenate for next year. So if you have a small number of them, I would wait till they're done and then just pull the whole stalk off from that flower stem. Dahlias, can they be planted in pots outdoors now? Brandy's my dahlia expert. I think people are starting dahlias. They do like it when it's warmer, so I know people do start them indoors, but I think, I don't know, is Tess on? Any dahlia growers on? I think most people plant them once the soil is warmed up because the tubers can rot if it's too cold and wet. So I know if you've got a few dahlias, they will start them in pots, but if you have a lot of dahlias, I think that they kind of wait till the soil is warmer.
Isn't 50 degrees the general 50 degrees?
50 degrees is good for a lot of things, but I think dahlias might even be a little bit warmer. Yeah.
That's the minimum.
Yeah.
And it's way too wet and cold for anything right now.
It is pretty much too wet and cold. A lot of things are just sitting there seed-wise and they're probably rotting.
I'm already moving plants inside and outside.
A lot of people are because we got faked out by the mild winter and everybody started seeds early. So if you've been moving plants in and out, I feel for you. Yes. Our raised Okay, raised beds are best regular wood versus treated lumber. So you don't want to use a lumber that has been treated with a chemical because that can leach into the soil. So you want to use a wood that is naturally rot resistant. Or you can treat them with linseed oil. It's kind of a process, but I know cedars are usually rot resistant, but it'll be more expensive. Locust, but I don't know that you can buy locust lumber. So yeah, and in some cases with the raised beds, they do also line the beds with like the landscape fabric, and that can help prolong the life of the wood. So when do we fertilize? It depends a bit on the plant. For bulbs, actually fertilizing before they flower, and then before they flower is usually when you can do it the best. Fertilizing in the spring is good. For trees and shrubs, generally I say stop fertilizing by the end of June or 4th of July because you don't want too much new fresh growth starting that later in the season. So I tend to fertilize my gardens in the spring, and I like to use just topping things with a good compost. If there's something that needs a little extra, I'll just use like a flat out like 10-10-10 granular. Who can't grow zucchini? Well, your neighbor should be able to grow zucchini. Hole in the perennial garden. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Neelam. Maybe you could unmute and elaborate.
I saw a hole there, and it's some animal is eating my perennials.
Oh, well, right now, deer and rabbits are probably the prime culprits. If you want, you can take a photo of it and send it to our Genesee MG Hotmail, and we can try to figure out what it is. But if the ground's wet and you're seeing hoof prints, that'll give you a good clue. Squirrels are also notorious for lopping the heads off of tulips. But right now, I would say if you have rabbits or deer and even woodchucks in the garden, those three critters are probably all nibbling on your plants.
No, but this is a hole in the soil.
Oh, a hole in the soil.
Wow.
How big a hole?
Maybe an inch or 2 inches, but you can see something is nibbling. It's never nibbled before.
Okay, so holes, if it's one hole, it could be a chipmunk because they do dig into the soil and create their dens. And you could also send us a picture of the hole and we can kind of try to figure out what it is by the size. So there are some sites where you can try to decide what it is.
Where will I send it, you said?
To the GeneseeMG@hotmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that Lori's got posted up here.
Yes.
All right, Lori, we want to talk about the correct way to water trees and plants.
Oh, yes. See, you need to make sure that you water the entire root zone. For like your garden plants, you need to water down about 2 inches. So you probably water an area for, 5 minutes or so, and you'll get like an inch worth of water, and then wait 10-15 minutes, then re-water. You get more water into the entire root zone of the plants. Where a tree, you need to water longer because the roots are so much deeper. And the entire root zone, basically the roots are the same width of the canopy of the tree. So you have a lot of roots that you need to water very deeply for a tree.
But here I see in the picture that the mulch is all the way up to the top.
Yes. And that's volcano mulching. That's bad.
There's no picture for the right way to do it?
Well, the right way would be flatter. You don't want to build the mulch up like a volcano to the base of the tree. Mm-hmm. And actually, when you're mulching anything, even perennials, you want to keep mulch away from the base of the tree or the crown of the plant. So I like to keep on trees and shrubs the mulch away from the trunk of the tree or shrub at least 2 inches.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you want it to be kind of more of a flat, and you want, like Lori said on the slide here, 3 inches is about the recommendation for most things. So you may not have to add mulch every year. Sometimes you can take a rake and just kind of fluff it up. But yeah, we wanted to show volcano mulching because we see so many trees like this. And then what happens is the mulch keeps the trunk wet. It lets in insects, which can lead to more disease. So if you have been adding mulch every year, just pull the mulch away from the trunk and then try to spread it out a little bit more. And with watering, especially trees, if you're planting new trees, you want to make sure you're watering that whole root ball. And trees and shrubs need 1 inch of water per week, and they need to make sure we do this for the first 3 years while they're getting established. So sometimes we plant it and the first season we're good about it, and then year 2 and 3 we forget about them, and that causes a lot of stress to the trees. So you want to continue watering. If you're watering lawns or things, if you are doing that, they do need 1 inch of water a week, and lots of times the recommendation is to take like a tuna fish can or something and put it out in the area that you're watering, and measure off 1 inch, and then when you've got 1 inch, you've watered 1 inch, then you can turn it off. So new transplants, you need to keep an eye on them, and you want to sometimes just stick your finger down in the soil and make sure that the water is getting down into the root zone. And I think Lori may have talked about this, but when you are watering a mulched area, you got to make sure that water gets through the mulch first. So you may have to spend a little bit more time watering a mulched area because the mulch will soak up some of that water. All right. Any other questions on watering or mulching?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. What is the purpose of mulching exactly?
Mulching does a couple different things. The main thing is that, well, the 2 main things. One is it helps reduce the weeds because it's blocking the sunlight from the soil. So weed seeds that need the sunlight to germinate, if you've got 2 inches of mulch on them, you're going to prevent that. And then mulch also helps regulate the moisture level in the soil. So if you're putting your mulch on later in the spring, if we have a dry summer, that soil actually holds the moisture in longer once it starts to warm up. Now with mulching, if you're adding mulch every year, you actually don't want to mulch when the soil is still really cool and wet because it will stay cool and wet. You may want to hold off on mulching or adding new mulch this spring and wait till the soil is warmed up a bit. But one other good thing that mulch does is in the winter, it helps kind of regulate the soil temperature because we go through a lot of freeze-thaw cycles, especially like this year. So it keeps the soil temperature more even, and then your plants are less likely to heave out, especially newer transplants. So those are the main things for mulching is water conservation, keeping the weeds down, and then keeping your soil temperature kind of at a regular or regulated temperature.
What is the best type of mulch to buy?
Well, it kind of depends on your preference, Peggy. Personally, I like to use the cedar mulch. I don't care for the colored mulches. I don't like getting the dye on me, and I don't want bright red mulch, but that's a personal preference. So there's hardwood mulch, there's cedar mulch, and then there are the pine bark. I find with the pine bark, they tend to blow away. Some people prefer the hardwood mulch to the cedar mulch. That's, again, a preference. So you want some kind, and I prefer the organic mulches because you can also use stone and some other things like that. Yes, the wooden mulches do break down over time, but you're adding a little bit of organic matter to the soil. So in some cases it's a personal preference, and in some cases it's kind of, what is the site? Stone, if you're using stone, it makes it hotter in the summer, especially, so you wouldn't want to use stone in like a southern exposure unless you're trying to probably grow desert plants or plants that need a lot of, well, good drainage. So in the garden, like the vegetable garden, you can use straw, you can use newspaper, you can use cardboard, all those things work as mulch.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to our chat. We've got a whole bunch of messages. So when can you trim or prune spring flowering tree? So the general rule of thumb is to prune flowering trees when they're done flowering. So lilacs bloom in May, and you want to have them pruned after they're done, and usually around the 1st of June. And it also depends if your tree or shrub is setting flowers on old growth or new growth. So say hydrangeas, the big leaf ones, they set their flower buds last year for this year. So if you prune them in the spring, you're cutting off all your flower buds. So most of the spring flowering trees you do prune after they're done flowering. And I also say, you know, any damage or dead growth can be pruned off at any time. And then Christine, she switched to metal raised beds, which is a great idea. Red lily leaf beetles on Asiatic lilies, everybody's worst nightmare. So Rebecca, one thing you want to do is start scouting your lilies. I know Asiatics are very susceptible to the red lily leaf beetle. The adults overwinter as adults, and they come out in the spring. They're already active. My lilies were literally popping up out of the ground. Red lily leaf beetle are also attracted to plants in the Fritillaria family, like crown imperials or the guinea hens. And I tend to scout my fritillarias early in April so I can see when they're back in my garden. One thing you can do is the lily leaf beetle, when you tap on the leaf, I'm getting some feedback here. I'm gonna mute a couple people. When you tap on the leaves, the lily leaf beetle will actually, in defense, just kind of fall to the ground. It turns over on its back and it falls down to the ground. So you can take advantage of that and go out with your dish pan of soapy water and tap them into the soapy water and take care of them that way. If you have a lot of them, that's not as easy to do. You want to learn to recognize their eggs. They're like an orange little mass on the underside of the leaves. So the one product that I use on red lily leaf beetle, the active ingredient, it's called spinosad. I will put that in the chat right now. And the brand name that I find it under the easiest is Captain Jack's Dead, I can't type today, Dead Bug Brew. So spinosad, this is an organic product. The caveat being that when it's applied and it's wet, it is toxic to bees and pollinators for 3 hours until it dries. So you want to spray it when the bees aren't active. You do not want to spray this on blooms or on flowers. I don't believe it's toxic to pets, Christine. I'd have to check. Pretty sure it's not. I'd have to double check that. The way it works is that the insect actually has to eat a leaf that was treated with it, and then it gets sick and it stops eating and it dies that way. If you want to find out more about spinosad, you can do a Google on spinosad and you should be able to come up with some information on it. But that is one good way to do the lily leaf beetles. Christine uses cayenne pepper and forks and skewers to get rid of things that were making holes in her soil. So you just want to be careful with the cayenne pepper. You don't want to get that in your eyes or your pet's eyes. There are some animal repellents that you can buy that are pre-made. Best time to prune wisteria. I'd have to look that up, Joan. wisteria, you can probably prune a lot. Maybe you could email that one question to us so we can do some research on it, because I'm not quite sure. Oh, and the fake owl that Christine moves around, that helps somewhat with animals. Best way to prune forsythia bush. Again, Joan, I would prune that after it's done flowering. On shrubs, you never want to, basically the rule of thumb is to take a third of a shrub at a time, especially if you want to regenerate it. Forsythias tend to get pruned in all sorts of shapes, and I like them when they're more natural. So with the forsythia, you can kind of cut it back a third to a half, and it'll grow out over the spring. If you have more questions about that, again, email. Lori, put the email back up for us, please. And put the, send a question to the Master Gardeners and we'll get an answer to you. The big yellow bag, Beth, they do sell, that's usually, I think it's more of a garden soil. I don't know if they have a mulch product that comes in the big yellow bag. I think that's more of a garden soil.
I think they did start doing mulch.
Did they?
I
Okay.
think they started last year.
I know the big yellow bag, there's only one company in Western New York that sells it, and I don't know if they hit all of Genesee County. I know some people that have ordered it. Oh, I didn't know spinosad was used as a flea treatment. I think imidacloprid is. I don't know what spinosad is. But it could be. It's not one I'm familiar with. How to use deer fence on potted plants. Neelam, do you mean like the fencing? I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, like when the deers are eating the potted plants, and somebody told me last year to use deer fence. Do I put it on top of the plants or around the potted plants? I didn't. Oh, there's a liquid that comes to deter the.
Oh. So if they're talking about one of the deer repellents, you can spray that. So there are some deer repellents, but you do have to apply it. You'd have to look at the label and see what the application is. It's usually like every 4 to 6 weeks.
Around the plants or on the plants?
The repellent, the spray repellent, you actually spray on the plants so the deer don't like the taste or the smell.
But when I did that, the leaves became white.
Okay, so I don't know what repellent you were using.
Just a deer.
Sometimes they're oily, so the plant may not have liked the oil. There might have been some phytotoxicity. Again, why don't you email us for some deer solutions with your containers, and we'll do some research for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? I think we got through the chat. I've got a poll, if I can share this poll. And I'm just interested to know how everyone found out about our talk today. So if you wouldn't mind filling that out. And we're also, if you guys have ideas on topics you would like to see programming on, you can put that in the chat and we'll see what we can come up with. I'm hoping we can do more of these. And as I said, tomorrow we have a talk at 11 a.m. on kind of a seed starting basic. If you go onto our website, the registration link is there. Any more questions for Lori?
What was your website again?
Our website, Lori, you want to put the website? I'll, can you, well.
I'll just move this over.
All right, can I?
How's that?
You know what? I've got the poll up, so let me give the poll another couple of seconds, and then you can put the, all right. 3, 2, 1, end polling. Thank you. And Lori can put, I don't know, Lori, did I mess up your screen?
Well, the poll is still on my screen.
All right, well, I ended it, so.
Oh,
Let me see if, okay, is it gone now?
No,
Oh dear.
let's see. Oh, here, let's try this.
All
How's
right.
that? Is that
This
better,
is-
everybody?
I've got weird stuff on my screens too. So let me see if I can pull up our website address quick and I'll throw it in the chat. Well, we're doing pretty good if we only had one technical glitch here. All right, I'm gonna put our website in the chat. And all right, we got another Brenda. Brenda, we're working on your question. You gave us quite a task. So Brenda's got a dappled willow bush. She planted it last year. It has many budding branches, but a couple with no growth. You know, Brenda, I think I would give it a little bit more time, maybe till like the beginning of June. And if it hasn't budded out by June, or if you can see that it is dead, then I would cut them back to wherever the branch comes from. So sometimes what you can do is if the branch itself feels flexible, or you can take your thumbnail or fingernail and just scrape a little bit of the bark, and if it's green underneath, then it's still alive. If it's not green, then it's dead, and you could prune those branches back. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Jan.
Okay, one more. My willow's 3 years old and I prune out the dead. All right, so it sounds like from Jennifer that maybe the willows are prone to getting some dieback every year and you just prune out the dead. Any last questions? Well, I want to thank Lori so much for being my Master Gardener guinea pig. This was our first attempt at a public Zoom. So Lori's been working very hard. We're learning how to share and do the recordings and everything. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, like us
Thank
on
you.
Facebook. We do our updates on Facebook, and also check out our website because we have an event section on our website. So thank you all. Have a wonderful day. If anybody wants to stick around and have more questions, I will be here for a little bit more. I won't end the meeting yet. And I guess I'll put my video back on so I can see you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
You're very brave, Lori. Good job.
Did better than us. Thank you. I'm over here pressing buttons. I don't know what the heck I'm pressing. I don't know.
You know, I need to give everybody a tutorial on Zoom, I guess.
Just
So-
asking
Sure.
Just
Hi,
asking if
Jennifer.
you're-
Hi, Peggy. Hi, Master Gardeners.
Just asking if your teacher friends. We've become master Zoomers.
Well, Jen,
That's
you know,
right.
it's always an opportunity to do a program.
Oh, I don't know about the all the presentation stuff though. I'm good at talking.
Brenda, I'm going to unmute you because you've given us an interesting project to work on.
Oh, thank you for being willing to even address it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we took a look at your photos yesterday, and oh my goodness, it's a conundrum for sure.
What is it?
Yeah.
She put in a large new bed last spring, or last summer, and now she has some major drainage issues. So we're going to look at it and try and figure out what's going on and hopefully give her some advice.
I'd love that. That my last resort, of course, will be making it a sculpture garden.
Well, you know, we did say, well, maybe she would want to put a nice patio in that area.
Yeah.
So, yes, yeah. I felt bad for you because it looked like it was beautiful last summer, and then the rain just comes in pools. So
Wow.
Yeah, it really does. And it's just sitting there. But that's where I put the dappled willow in, and I added that myself.
Oh,
right.
And I would do more of that, but I'm
And I
kind of
think-
waiting and seeing what
Yeah, we
happens.
kind of think it may be that you'll have to choose plants that are amenable to like rain gardens or can tolerate clay, because it sounds
Mhm.
like you have a clay base there. So that's why I wanted your address so I could look it up on Web Soil Survey and actually see what your soil structure is there, so we can make some recommendations based on that.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, it may take us a little while, so probably next week before we come up with something concrete for you, but
Oh, that's fine. I can't do anything in this
Yeah.
weather.
yeah.
Oh, one thing I just wanted to add is the part where there's a lot of pooling, it's a little worse on the right. That kind of gets a lot of wind. The wind kind of like swirls. Let's see, the back fence is facing north. And so when I did have mulch there, or even the topsoil, it's just taking a beating and it's like moving around.
Okay.
So I don't really know if
So you
that's
might have a
something I can
little,
fix.
you might have a little wind tunnel effect in there from something.
Yeah, I think so, possibly.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing we noticed that it looks like the garage doesn't have a gutter on that side, so the water's probably coming off the roof right there.
It
onto your
is.
garden.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to put up a gutter, but I wasn't really sure, with the COVID, if I should do that yet. So,
Right, right. Yeah, I think the gutter would help somewhat, but
Mhm.
also because of the way the slope of your yard is, it's kind of downhill, but even back into your neighbors. So,
yeah, yeah.
and I think that with the clay, yeah, you've got some challenges there, but we'll look at it again and get some ideas for you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other? Yes, John, weed control is best done early and all year.
Mhm.
Anything? I don't see any other questions, Lori. Yep, nice
Okay.
job, Lori. You got lots of kudos, so good for you.
Thank
You can relax now, Lori. I've been whipping her into shape for the past year. No, or not year, week. I guess it's felt like a year.
Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, John, I'm trying to unmute you here. There we go. I think I unmuted you, John.
He's still muted.
Oh, I don't know why he won't unmute. Maybe we're both trying to do it. I don't know, John. It won't let me unmute you.
You doing it at the same time?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe we are. I'll
it-
stop.
that
There, we
better?
got it. Yes, I think we were both trying to unmute him at the
Yeah,
same time.
my kids do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
No, my question was on weed control. I'm going to be planting my dahlias as well as some zinnias and marigolds, and I don't want to disturb the roots with a hoe. Is there any possible solutions for early weed control?
So are you doing things in rows, John, or in a bed, or?
I've got, most of it'll be in a bed. I've been preparing that, but weeds always come up after a week or two after the garden is planted.
Right. So are you talking more like, so your beds would be more like a,
Well, I'm
kind
trying
of like
to,
a vegetable garden type setup, or flower bed setup?
it's a flower bed that I'm concerned about, and I'm trying to stay away from black plastic because of moisture.
Yeah.
If you have moisture, then the rain isn't going to do you any good.
Right,
If you have
right.
black plastic, I mean. I didn't know if I could glean some hints from other growers about weed control.
All right, Master Gardeners, what do you guys do? I mean, I kind of rely on mulch, and some of my beds now, I'm trying to go with more ground cover so that there's something on the ground year round. But, I mean, there is preen, but
Preen will inhibit his new.
preen will inhibit any seeds. You can't do seeds because that's preen's a pre-merge, John. You can sprinkle it on the soil and it will help with some seeds. I've used it in new beds so that I don't have weeds 3 weeks later.
Right.
Um,
Doesn't work on pre-existing weeds.
no, it doesn't work on
Or
perennial weeds
grasses.
or pre-existing.
But I put it on top of my mulch so that new things don't get a hold. But are you saying, John, the weeds are already up?
No, I'm gonna rototill the bed before I do the planting.
Ooh, then I definitely mulch, even like a newspaper cover. Sometimes I lay newspaper and put mulch on top of that, and then preen on top of that.
Well, I don't want to mess up the neighborhood with a newspaper flying
Well,
around.
you put the mulch on top of it so you don't see it, and then it breaks up into the soil.
Okay, all right.
That
Thank you very much.
Is that an okay thing to say, Jan?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, newspaper is fine. I mean,
Biodegradable.
yeah, and when I'm doing new beds, I lay down cardboard and put
Yeah.
mulch over the cardboard to smother things out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the vegetable garden, you can use straw, you can use dried grass clippings. Not that we have a ton of them right now, but you have to let them dry out first, otherwise they get moldy and stinky. And you don't want any grass clippings that have been treated with any kind of herbicide or pesticide. Yeah, John, you kind of have to find what you have available and what works for you in that particular bed.
Thanks, folks. I've got to run.
Bye, Jen.
It was fun. And
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Jan, was there a recording of, like, what was it, last Friday's meeting?
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to edit it yet.
That's okay. That's
Yep.
okay. Just wondering if it's there for the look in at some point.
Yeah, so for Master
That'd be good.
Gardeners, that was a in-service for Master Gardeners. So
Yeah.
when I find a spot to home it, I will let you guys know.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys. I love
Yep.
getting together.
Yep.
Bye.
Yeah.
Other questions for Lori or the group? We got a bunch of Master Gardeners on, so take advantage of them. And I think for everybody who's left, we'll probably be doing our June garden talk via Zoom also. I don't know where we fall in the phase reopening, so we may be doing Zoom for a while.
What's the subject for the next one?
David Russell, our crazy bug guy, will be doing spotted lanternfly.
Good.
The new invasive bug of the year, I guess. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know, for the few of you that are left, if anybody has ideas or topics they would like to see, let me know. All right. Well, if there aren't any more topics or questions, repeat here, Marianne. Please repeat how to start a garden bed. Oh, sure, Marianne. So for brand new beds, what I like to do, well, your main thing is if you're, depending on whether you're doing it on lawn or maybe in an area you're trying to recover, if there aren't any plants there that you're trying to save, it's a brand new area. What I do, rather than, you can do it a couple different ways. One, you can use an herbicide and kill all the vegetation that's currently growing there. You want to get rid of your perennial weeds regardless. So you may have to dig up perennial weeds. But if you don't want to go the herbicide route, what you can do is take large sections of cardboard. And what I've started doing when I use the cardboard is take the packing tape off because that doesn't biodegrade. So then I end up pulling all this packing tape out of my beds. But I usually a cardboard box is thick enough. I open up the cardboard boxes, lay them down on the ground, and then I put 2 to 3 inches of mulch over it. And it's probably best to do that. If you do it in the spring, by fall, it will have killed everything. It may even have killed everything by later in the summer. Lots of times people will do this in the fall so that the bed's ready to go in the spring. The cardboard breaks down, adds a little organic matter to the soil. But it's a very easy way to clear a spot that you want to start a new bed in. So cardboard, or like Jennifer said, many layers of newspaper. You can wet the newspaper down to keep it from flying away as you're putting mulch down on it. But I'm known in the office for collecting large pieces of cardboard. And I've even done that on my paths. If I'm trying to establish a path just to kill stuff, I'll put the cardboard down and then mulch it with whatever I want to use for the path. So it's an easy way. It's inexpensive. You're not using the herbicides if you don't want to go that route. So. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right.
Amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks,
joining
Lori.
us.
Thank you, Lori and Jan.
Yes, thank you, Lori.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Bye-bye,
Thank you,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.
I'm going to end the meeting for everyone. So, Lori, great job. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.